کی دعا جنت کی ہوا کی دعا جنت کی ہوا یہ کامیابیاں شہرت قدم قدم پہ ملی یہ کامیابیاں شہرت قدم قدم پہ ملی نصیب ایسا ملا ماں تیری دعا سے تیری دعا سے ماں تیری دعا سے ماں تیری دعا سے طواف میں نے کیا کی سعی بربادی طواف میں نے کیا کی سعی بربادی جو میں نے میرا کیا ماں تیری دعا سے تیری دعا سے ماں تیری دعا سے ماں تیری دعا سے مجھے گرانے پہ حاسد تلے ہوئے تھے مگر مجھے گرانے پہ حاسد تلے ہوئے تھے مگر میں دشمنوں سے بچا ماں تیری دعا سے تیری دعا سے ماں تیری دعا سے ماں تیری دعا سے قسم ہے اس میں اجالے کا کچھ جمال نہیں قسم ہے اس میں اجالے کا کچھ جمال نہیں عروج اس کو ملا ماں تیری دعا سے تیری دعا سے ماں تیری دعا سے ماں تیری دعا سے ماں کی دعا جنت کی ہوا ماں کی دعا جنت کی ہوا ماں کی دعا جنت کی ہوا ماں کی دعا جنت کی ہوا.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to News in Focus live on Radio Al-Ansar International, broadcasting on the frequency Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Masberg 105.6 FM, and audio streaming on www.alansar.org.za. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaba bikum. My name is Yunus Sacoor with my co-host Sumaya Khan, and we will be in your company for the next 2 hours. We'll be interviewing our guests shortly. Today, the date is the 7th of January 2026, 17th of Rajab 1447. We are approximately 1 month and 13 days away from the Mubarak month of Ramadan. And inshallah, we quickly proceeding towards the month of Ramadan. But if one reflects, one finds that last Ramadan was just felt like a couple of months away, Sumaya, and now we to see it is a month's time we have Ramadan join again with us. So the way time is flying, where the Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said that a time will come when the years will be like months, the months will be like weeks, the weeks will be like days, and days will be like hours, and the hours will be like minutes. And these are serious times in our sort of ummah, and we have to be guarded and careful to ensure that we obey Allah's commandments as shown to us by Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. Now, the topic for tonight is somewhat different. We're going to do a brief overview or report back on the Durban Summer Souk 2025, which was concluded on Sunday, where we had the closing ceremony, a very successful souk. Shortly at around 2035, we'll interview two personalities from the Dubai souk, which has also taken place in the last couple of weeks and will be concluded this Sunday, the 11th of January, and we'll be interviewing the founder of Dubai Souk as well as one of the collaborators. The topic we're also going to discuss is Yemen, the UAE, and the Arab world, power, peace, and proxy politics. Now, we know UAE and the Arab world have been criticized for not supporting Gaza, and there were indications that they're complicit with, the Zionists and USA. But Yemen, on the other hand, has been supporting Gaza and sacrificing a lot of, ammunition and sort of response to the challenges in Gaza. We're also going to look at the Venezuelan and global political interference of Trump, how superpower politics shape fragile states. We know that, one of the agendas there is oil reserves in Venezuela. And we're also going to look at South Africa in uproar. Citizens must apply for jobs, leadership versus live reality. Now, a lot of our graduates and people who are applying for jobs, previously government used to be an employer of a lot of vacancies, but unfortunately now, when our graduates are applying, in hospitals or in the government sector, you find again they're facing discrimination. The guest for this evening is Dr. Faizal Suliman. He's the chairman of SAMNET, human rights activist, and Samuel Kennedy, a political analyst. And before that, we'll be interviewing, our two guests from the Durban Summer Souk. I'd like to welcome Sumaya Khan, who is the presenter of School Matters and Youth Frequency on Fridays. She's a regular co-host with me in News in Focus. Sumaya, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and how are you this evening?
Wa alaikum salam, Brother Yunus Sacoor. Alhamdulillah, and how are you?
Alhamdulillah. Sumaya, we just finished the Durban Summer Souk, the 30th edition, the Pearl edition. And we know that many of the staff were present from the 24th to the 4th, approximately 12 days. And there was a huge turnout. And in the closing speech, myself and the chair worked out based on the daily attendance. There were more than 150,000 people that attended. So this was a record attendance at the Durban Summer Souk. And if you divide that by 12, it's over 12,000 a day. Now, I know you attended the Souk on a number of days. You've done some programs. And there's been a lot of positive reports, about the Souk. Perhaps, what was a few outstanding features that you experienced at the Durban Summer Souk, which was different from previous years?
Well, when you look at the Durban Summer Souk, every year it grows bigger and better. The Durban Summer Souk was organized by the Al Ansar Foundation, as everyone knows. And what was so unique was it still remains a family-friendly event that attracts, as you said, over hundreds of thousands of visitors and features more than, what I would say, close to 400 vendors. Right. And from around the world. And, while we were sitting in the crafter, the radio van in front of one of the entrances, you were quite amazed to see that it was people from different cultures, different races. It has grown to the greater part of Durban. And the shopping, the entertainment, the activities for the children, the fashion shows, comedy, live cooking demonstrations, and everything, it created a festive atmosphere for families, and not forgetting the entertainment for children, the real rides, so it just worked out so well. And also every year there's more and there's new small businesses, which creating more entrepreneurs. And inshallah, for the years to come, these small entrepreneurs will be bigger. Because if you look at many shops around Durban, in the malls, and if you tend to chat with them, many of them started at the Durban Summer Souk, which was known as the Al-Ansar Souk. So inshallah, it was absolutely great. And I think what was also so different and took it to the next level was the way the infrastructure was set. And also, if you were looking at safety, if you had a weapon, it was taken away for you. Security was on the ball. Even us being staff and presenters coming in, there was no leniency to us. We had to show our identification, show who we are. So security was on point in that aspect. And inshallah, the expansion and the unity was just unbelievable. So so if you're looking on a broader scale, everyone benefited, even the municipality.
Now, we also, our chair and many of us, were mindful of the fact that the Dubai Souk was also taking place concurrently at another venue. And we encouraged a lot of our attendees to go there, our stallholders to go there. And, obviously there's quite a number of stallholders that sort of applied their goods at the Durban Summer Souk. And later in the program, interview Syed Abdu, founder of the Dubai Souk, Hanif Salah, the coordinator of the Dubai Souk. Al-Ansar represents, powering entrepreneurship and community through unity. So basically, we want to encourage businesses wherever they can, perform well and they can sort of, present their goods and services for sale. We encourage that because that's what you call economic empowerment and the development of SMMEs. Now, as the Al-Ansar Foundation, the Durban Summer Souk could accommodate only a certain number of stallholders, which was, as you said, around the 360 mark. So many stallholders could not get placed there. So here's an opportunity for them to go to the Dubai Souk. And that took place at, the fields just opposite the Moses Mabhida Stadium. And I believe that many people attended that souk. So, being a foundation, our objective, as the name Al-Ansar means, helpers, we're helping people. And our objective was to develop businesses throughout, the Durban area. So the point I'm making is that the theme of the souk is to develop entrepreneurs, and wherever they can develop and make some money and sort of sell their products, we are happy as the Al-Ansar Foundation, because part of our goal is to empower people, to empower businesses, to develop businesses, because a lot of these small stallholders do not have businesses where they can open up, businesses in town at high rentals. Many of them, they want to be in these pop-ups, in the flea markets, in events. And Al-Ansar have 4 to 5 events a year. Other organizations have events. And if there's an event, the same time as us, we encourage our attendees to also attend those events. And this is why Al-Ansar, in its endeavors to promote economic empowerment, we also support other events as well. Your comment on that, Sumaya?
Well, when you look at it, Al-Ansar is not just a community radio station, a community outreach foundation. When you look at it, we are taking, I wouldn't say the community, but I'll say we are taking the province, the country to the next level, because it's so important for collaboration, it's so important for networking, and it's so important to uplift each other. And that's what we're doing. And one would say this is, with Islamic ethos, Islamic small organization. Generally, organizations are very competitive, very clannish, cliquish, for themselves, only for themselves, prospering, gaining revenue. But Al-Ansar is so different. You will never get, and I'm saying this out of the box, what you just said, where we are assisting, marketing, promoting another sister entrepreneur venture, another souk, the Dubai souk. And that is something on a different level because it shows the caliber of the board of directors of Al Ansar, that includes all the directors, you and everybody else, that y'all are thinking out of the box. And in that way, if every organization, institution did it when they have fairs or anything dealing with revenue, money, economy, you will actually sort out when it comes to jobs, employment. Now, alhamdulillah, well done to you guys, because I think right now the listeners are saying, Sumaya, wait, let me just listen to that again, what you just said. Let me just listen to what Mr. Sacoor said, because no one would do something like that. So alhamdulillah, because right now, if you think about it, there's pop-up events everywhere on a big scale. There's pop-up stalls. There's so many things going on, but everyone is competitive. No one wants the next event to success or prosper. But here's Al Ansar. We are done with souk. You guys are absolutely tired. But again, you got even more exciting news to tell to our listeners about the Dubai souk.
You know, it's a sunnat of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam that whenever he encouraged business enterprise, he expected each businessman to support each other. There were times in the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Sahaba Ikram where there were shops next to each other selling the same products. And sometimes you'll find one particular business have an enormous number of customers. And that Sahabi used to actually tell those customers, go to the next shop and support that shop as well, because they wanted to share the business of, that particular sort of country at that stage. So the same theme, we must revive that sunnah, of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, and we must ensure that we support each other, because rizq comes from Allah, business comes from Allah, and whoever is destined, that person will get that business. So on that note, our guests from this Dubai souk have arrived, and we will be interviewing them shortly. So we'll take a short break, and inshallah, after the break, we'll interview our guests.
तू ही मेरी जिंदगी, तू ही मेरी आशिकी, तू जो मुझे मिल गई जिंदगी। सुना था ये जहां, सुनी थी जिंदगी, तू जो मुझे मिल गई है खुशी। मैं कहाँ जाऊं, तू जो रूठ गया, ओ मेरे साथिया, दिल टूट गया, दिल डूब गया, साथ छूट गया, ओ मेरे साथिया, तू क्यों रूठ गया। तू जुदा हो गया साथिया, क्या करूं, तू जुदा हो गया साथिया, क्या करूं। कितने हंसी थे वो दिन, कितनी हंसी थी शामें, याद मुझे है वो पल, ओ मेरे साथिया। पीछे पीछे तेरे कदमा दे, फिर दरिया मैं फिर दरिया, ओ हीरी मेरी ये सोनिए, ओ तेरी याद सतांदी, टूट गया मेरा दिल वे, ओ तेरी याद सतांदी, टूट गया मेरा दिल वे, तेरी याद सतांदी, दिल डूब गया, साथ छूट गया, ओ मेरे साथिया, तू क्यों रूठ गया। तू जुदा हो गया साथिया, क्या करूं, तू जुदा हो क्या करूं या रब्बा ये प्यार जो मैंने किया सब कुछ मैंने दिया ये प्यार ने मार दिया मैं वो जो लुटेरा जिसका सब कुछ लुट गया मैंने दुनिया को दिल दिया मैंने सब कुछ खो दिया
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Peace and love, my brothers and sisters. It's your brother Umar Isa. My YouTube channel, our YouTube channel, is on over 750,000 subscribers, alhamdulillah. But I want to get to 1 million, inshallah, with your help and ultimately with my Allah's help. So please, 78% of you watching don't subscribe. Why? So hit that subscribe button. Let's get to 1 million, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
जुदा हो गया साथिया क्या करूं या रब्बा ये प्यार जो मैंने किया सब कुछ मैंने दिया ये प्यार ने मार दिया मैं वो जो लुटेरा जिसका सब कुछ लुट गया मैंने दुनिया को दिल दिया मैंने सब कुछ खो दिया
This segment is brought to you by Kenfield Auto, your RMI approved service and repair specialist. 236 Brickfield Road, Overport. Kenfield Auto.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم
Car won't start.
Kenfield Auto.
Noisy brakes.
Kenfield Auto.
Due for a service.
Kenfield Auto. Kenfield Auto. The answer to all your car problems. Your service and repair specialist for your VW, Audi, Suzuki, Toyota, or just about any vehicle. Kenfield Auto, your RMI and insurance approved workshop to handle them all. 236 Brickfield Road, Overport. Call us on 031 207 2399. Kenfield Auto.
Right now, over 150 million children around the world are orphaned, facing hunger, hardship, and uncertainty. With Islamic Relief's Orphan Sponsorship Program, you can provide a child with access to education, nutritious food, essential healthcare, and a safe home. Your sponsorship is not just support, it's hope, security, and a brighter future. Be the reason an orphan child smiles again. Sponsor an orphan today with Islamic Relief.
Welcome to Simplex Radio. Visit our showroom for the full range of car audio. Our TV department carries top brands with quality LED panels, full HD to Ultra HD, and now the experience of Super Ultra HD. Visit our theater rooms and transform your home with brands like Onkyo, Integra, Denon, Boston Acoustics, Yamaha, and more for quality audio visual experience. Now available, full range of home appliances. A one-stop shopping experience. Call 031 306 4029 or Kenilworth Park, 202 Brickfield Road, Overport. Simplex Radio, the name you can trust.
Get ready to elevate your fitness game at First Fitness in Durban's Berea. With a spacious free weight area, award-winning equipment, and exclusive ladies-only parking and training level, we've got everything you need to crush your goals. Hit the ground running on our outdoor track or unleash your inner warrior in our MMA and boxing dungeon. Plus, enjoy high security and ample parking. And don't forget to refuel at our Halal Coffee and Health restaurant for the best in coffees, smoothies, and healthy eats. Join us today and redefine your fitness journey. First Fitness, dare to be extraordinary.
اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين على أرض فلسطين. اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين على أرض فلسطين. اللهم حرر المسجد الأقصى من اليهود الغاصبين. اللهم انصر إخواننا المرابطين على أرض فلسطين. اللهم شد أزرهم وسدد رميهم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم الطف بإخواننا في كل مكان يذكر فيه اسمك يا أرحم الراحمين. استنصروك يا الله فانصرهم. اللهم ارحم الضعفاء والفقراء والمساكين والأيتام والنازحين والمشردين والأسرى يا أرحم الراحمين.
اللهم أنج المستضعفين من المسلمين في فلسطين. اللهم كن لهم عونا ونصيرا. اللهم كن لإخواننا المرابطين في المسجد الأقصى. اللهم كن لهم ولا تكن عليهم. اللهم فرج همهم، نفس كربهم، داوي جرحاهم، عاف مبتلاهم، اشف مرضاهم، ارحم موتاهم، تقبل شهداءهم.
Every day, thousands go to bed hungry, but you can change that. With just 10 Rand, you can provide a loaf of bread. This bread is more than just a donation, it is a lifeline for so many families in need. Be part of the Al Ansar Outreach Slice of Life drive today. Call Outreach on 031-208-1601 and make a difference one loaf at a time.
This Azan is sponsored for the Isale Sawab of Marhum Muhammad Farooq Latib and all Marhumin. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them the highest abode in Jannah. Ameen.
أعزائي المستمعين، حان الآن موعد أذان العشاء لمدينة دربن وما حولها.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا
اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته وارزقنا شفاعته يوم القيامة. إنك لا تخلف الميعاد.
This dua brought to you by Simplex Radio, South Africa's leading retailer of appliances, car sound and home theater systems.
This salah is proudly brought to you by Khan's Chemical Industry. May this salah enlighten your soul and bring about endless blessings throughout your day. This salah was proudly brought to you by Khan's Chemical Industry. May this salah enlighten your soul and bring about endless blessings throughout your day.
Having a clean, comfortable home is every homeowner's pride. That's why Khan's Chemicals have developed and manufactured prime yet affordable quality household brands. Starlight, Miracle Mum, Exterminate, and Angie to care for your home and family. With a wide range of fabric softeners, dishwashing liquids, bleachers, and all-purpose cleaners, pine gels, bubble baths, and much more. Khan's Chemicals ensures your home remains our #1 priority. For sales and other inquiries, call 011 933 4021. Khan's Chemicals, cleaning your home the way you want.
We'd love to meet you. Pay us a visit. Radio Al-Ansar.
Radio Al-Ansar, Durban, 90.4 FM. Pietermaritzburg, 105.6 FM.
Ya Rasulallah, Ya Habiballah, Aka, 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 फिर के गली गली तबाह ठोकर सब की खाए क्यों दिल को जो अक्ल दे खुदा तेरी गली से जाए क्यों रुखसत का फिदा का शान गश से हमें उठाए क्यों रुखसत का फिदा का शान गश से हमें उठाए क्यों सोते हैं उनके साए में सोते हैं उनके साए में कोई हमें जगा
Listen to News in Focus on Radio Al-Ansar, Durban 90.4 and Pietermaritzburg 105.6 FM every Wednesday from 8 p.m. with Yunus Sacoor. That's 8 p.m. every Wednesday, Radio Al-Ansar, keeping you informed.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to News in Focus live on Radio Al-Ansar International, broadcasting on the frequency Durban 90.4 FM, Pietermaritzburg 105.6 FM, and broadcasting in www.alansar.org.za on the streaming. With me in the studio, I have Syed Abdu, the founder of Dubai Souk International, and Hanif Salah, coordinator of the Dubai Souk International. Syed Abdu, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to News in Focus live on Radio Al-Ansar International.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And we also have Hanif Salah, coordinator of the Dubai Souk International. Hanif, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to News in Focus live on Radio Al-Ansar International.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Let's kick off with Syed Abdu. Syed Bhai, you were also part of an Al-Ansari for a long time. You had stalls in Al-Ansar, and you're one of the founders of the Dubai Souk International. And the Dubai Souk has been running since the 23rd of January 2025. And you conclude on the 11th of January, 23rd of December, and you conclude on the 11th of January 2026. This particular souk is basically running at the fields opposite Moses Mabida Stadium. What's the name of that venue?
Mastering Field, People's Park.
Okay.
Yeah, East, yeah.
Now, if you can just give us a bit of background on the Dubai Souk. I know you've been running this event for a number of years, and it's been quite a successful event. And the Al-Ansar Foundation is very proud of you running this event and being so successful. And the current event, you've been running it concurrently with the Durban Summer Souk, and I'm sure you are delighted as well as us to make sure that We provide opportunities to entrepreneurs and business to run their businesses, because many of them are finding it difficult operating from home or hiring shops that are quite expensive. So if you can just tell us exactly how the Dubai Souk is going on since the 23rd, and what are the salient events that are taking place there?
Yeah, we start Dubai Souk at 2010. We're running for like 15 years now. We start at Kings Park Stadium long time ago, and it was some like challenge. That's why we was trying to get like a venue which like it accommodate more us and make us like do much more like business, which we find this year, alhamdulillah, find that new venue, new home, new beginning, that as we say. Dubai Souk start like 2010, and it was like
Can I just say that? Oh, it's a dream of Mr. Abu. As always, he speak. I'm just Abu Said by just. I'm just going forward with what we can say. That's now my name is Hanif there, and Said by have a dream.
Said Abdul speaks a lot of Arabic and English.
No, not that way. Said he's happy to be in Al Ansar there, and you can see that now, Mr. Sacoor Bhai, and looking at Sumaya now. He just. Showing the eye in a different way. And I say, never mind.
You know,
we are here at
Al Ansar means helpers. It means helping people. We know that when the Mujahideen left Makkah and they came to Medina, the Ansar accommodated them and welcomed them. And this is the name of Al Ansar. You know, Al Ansar is powering entrepreneurship and community through unity. We united with all businesses because our objective is to help people. And we're very happy to have the founder and one of the collaborators of the Dubai Souk live in the studio and actually promoting Dubai Souk. So, Sayyid Abdi, if you can just tell us what are the important events that take place, how many stall holders you have, and exactly what is your objective of having this particular souk during the December period, Sayyid Bhai?
Yes, we do have like over like 250 like stall holders, like for shops and food, including the shops, food court, and some other like other small like trailer like business, food business, yeah. And of course our purpose to start like Dubai Souk, like to create like jobs and chance for the people at this time of the year, you know, to employ the people to have job and have income. And as we learned this from Al Ansar, because you are part of Al Ansar. I was a stallholder of Al Ansar. I'm very, very happy and very glad that you give me a new studio like life, which shows to our Muslim like community that will not have no competition. We are like Muslim brother. We work hand to hand to get full benefit to the public. Or like our public, like people, to help them get some like employed and get some income at this time of the year.
So basically, it's employment creation.
Yes.
Sumaya, you want to come
I want to say something. His stallholder. I just want to add something. Yes. I can say in Dubai Souk, when you come there, you can buy mangoes and lychees there. So you can say that we have a street people, the people who is selling on a street. So Dubai Souk is giving an opportunity to entrepreneur, small business people to come and do. So we have a stall hold. There are lots of stalls we have who sell mangoes now. So if you're coming to Dubai Souk and all now, if you can't get, that's the olden style there. It's a Dubai style there. It's a marquee there. It's not a very fancy there. So we are really supporting a small business. It's mango, lychees you can have in Dubai Souk also. There are fruits, there are street foods, lots of foods available. You will remember those years when you, like, you know, around 30 years ago in a marquee to have such a big stalls there. Now you got a big malls going on. People go to the malls, people go here, people go everywhere else where the fancy stall. Still, when it comes to Dubai Souk, Souk means is a market and a bazaar. We said, okay, let's come back into the style of olden style. That's what we say, old is gold. So we come back into the Souk style for you to remember when you go to the Saudi, you go to Dubai, you go everywhere. There is a lot of marquee techniques, lot of old styles of work is there. Okay, we're not very high class there. Our prices are very reasonable. When you're coming, that's where it is now. So we're not on the upper class, we on the street, and our prices are reasonable. So
now,
definitely people will have benefits on that.
Hanif, we mentioned, early on in the program, and Sumaya, you want to come in, is that our president has mentioned that SMMEs are an important area of business because you not only create employment, but they become businessmen and they grow from there. And we know in the Durban Summer Souk and Al Ansar Souks earlier periods, a lot of these stallholders became huge businesses going forward. And when we had our media launch, a lot of them were running lucrative business, and they said we started off at the souk. And if you go to Muhammad Ali Street, where you come from in Mumbai, and in Cairo, you find these small stalls and souks, and they do lucrative business. So Sumaya, the response to economic empowerment and unemployment, our friend Samuel always chats about it, that government cannot employ everybody, so self-employment is crucial. Perhaps you just want to check, in terms of dealing with unemployment, how the events and souks are responding to that aspect.
Before I go on with that, this is so unique. We have entrepreneurs, one from Indian descent, coming all the way from India,
Mumbai.
Gao,
oh, Mumbai, the Gujarat side, you can say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, and we have our brother here from Egypt.
Cairo.
Now imagine we have, I'm not saying you're foreigners, you all are fully fledged South Africans here in South Africa who are creating entrepreneurships. You all are creating employment. And this is so to the heart touching, because when you look at it, you all are South Africans and you all know that the unemployment rate is so high. And just by having the, forget about the Al Ansar Souk, we're over and done with that, alhamdulillah. We're having the Dubai Souk. You all are still catering for the common man out there who still needs to support his family, to sustain a living. And how many stalls would you say?
Around 200 stalls.
200 stalls. When you described the mango stall, because when you travel overseas and when you are in Dubai souk under that tent, for a moment you'll think you're in Cairo, because we have our brother shouting in Arabic. What is it? Fussa?
Yes.
Pure Arabic. And then we have the colloquial, Egyptian. I'm going back when I studied Arabic. Do you know I have a major in Arabic, by the way? Huh? Bet you never knew that. So anyway, you feel like you're in Saudi or some parts of Morocco or Egypt. And then when we come to the guys who are selling Punjabis and Eastern clothes, they're telling you, Apa Ben,
Kaftan.
Yeah,
We got it. We got in the Vice.
Exactly. And for a moment you'll think, I am here in some part of India.
That's right.
Exactly. But these are our common folks who are here, who are so happy to serve us patrons, but at the same time, they have jobs. Yes. And at the same time, those stall holders are employing how many hundreds of people?
Definitely around 3,000 people getting the job
employment.
there. Yes,
employment.
definitely.
So the municipality of KZN, local government, shouldn't complain, because you're like creating employment, especially when youth unemployment is so high. Because when you tend to come to the Al Ansar Souk and even Dubai Souk, what really makes us so happy, Brother Kennedy, Samuel, is you come from government, and you're a political analysis, that there's youth being employed. And that is putting them off the streets, preventing them to be involved in the ills of society. And so many of them are taking bread and butter back home. And KZN is being uplifted slowly but surely. And just by having these fairs, when you look at it from a more political, from an economy point of view.
Hanif, and my colleague there, from my African colleague.
Yes. Say Abdul.
Salam alaikum. How are you, brother? And good afternoon, evening, Yunus and Monjli. Haven't seen Monjli for a long time. And also a great welcome from Sumaya. Hanif and my brother there. Anything helps. 200 stores, beautiful. The more the merry, because every cent contributes to gross domestic product.
Definitely.
So small beginnings always ends up big beginnings. We've seen the Durban souk from 32 years. Today it's a big souk, and we're absolutely certain that there's a space, as Yunus says. It's an old Arabic, it's an old Eastern thing, that even if you go to Pakistan, you'll find 10 guys selling exactly the same thing next to each other. That we welcome.
And everyone's so happy.
No problem, because competition is not Western competition.
Competition is always healthy.
But it's not Western. And the reason why it's not Western is because the proprietor accepts that the customer is king.
Correct.
That you might have the same product, but he might decide, today I want to buy from that fella. And that's how we do business. So we must encourage that. We must encourage the souk. Happy to see you. I thought you're bringing a chow. But
oh, we got a Dubai souk now. You got to come to us. Not one stall now. There's only 30 40 stalls are there.
And he's not going to give you the chicken tikka. I'll probably give you the entire mixed grill.
Yeah.
With the chicken tikka.
Listen, we're running out of time, Samuel, and we got a couple of minutes left. Your closing comments, say it up. Exactly, why should people come to Dubai?
Sacoor bhai,
tell us.
Can I come in?
Yes.
Because I like what you said it in the beginning. Ansar, Al-Ansar now,
yes.
right? And I wanted to say there what you have said it. It's exactly Al-Ansar. You can see two foreigners are sitting here. As Sumaya also said it. And you, as an Ansar, you have brought us, and your directors and all now. I must be definitely say that now we appreciated your recognition, calling us here, helping us here. And it's not we are talking. This is the life proof. We're sitting at your radio station, one, as she said, from the Egypt, and one is from the India. And what a warm welcome from the Al-Ansar side. And we definitely say we all have to learn from this one thing. We are united.
Oh, definitely.
We only have one object: to create the employment, give the jobs to the people. We cannot have any other reason. There are lots of malls, lot of supermarkets, lots of things happening. A lot of people. I'm in a food business. A lot of people sell chicken. Chicken is a chicken, but everybody have a different brand. But the business just carries on. So there is no competition. When it's called is a competition, whoever is saying, I'm telling you, there is something definitely wrong there. There is no competition. We have only one object. We are here to small business people to support. And that's what we are trying to do. Even Al-Ansar, I'm with you guys for so many years. You all have the same motto. And we do have a same motto, okay? We getting the recognized now from the Al-Ansar, okay, this year. But I can tell you we have a same motto. So our motto is there to create the employment, get the jobs, and that's what it is.
And now for our listeners out there, can you tell us about safety, entertainment, the discounts, free entry, pensioners, and when you guys close? Sorry, all in a mouthful.
Oh, so quickly, Abdul Said bhai, do you want to say all that? Sumaya said it very fast.
Yeah, we have
You
so
got
much
to be
like
very fast.
entertainment. Like our stage, like it's full naat, nasheeds, all like our it's in Islamic environment for us. We have so much special. It's bargain is there. All like that Middle East. Stallholder they are at Dubai Souk, like from Turkey, like Jordan, Palestinian, Saudi Arabia, and even Egypt as well. There's a lot.
Don't forget India stall also there.
India, Pakistan. lot of variety. We opening our parking for free up to the 11. So no parking is free for us.
Free entry?
Free no
Free entry. No, but you do have free entry.
No pensioner is free. Yeah.
And 10:30 onwards.
And
for everyone.
Seven and also like it's below 7 is free of charge.
So finally, Said Abdul, tell me, you got 4 days left: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yes.
What can people expect when they attend the Dubai Souk for these 4 days?
Bargain. Nothing.
A lot of entertainment.
Entertainment also there.
It's a safe environment. You got security. You got parking.
Very safe.
So people should come there in large numbers and enjoy those days.
Please.
And when do you close? 11, 12 o'clock at night?
No, normally we open at 2 and we close at 12 midnight. But But the good news also for the public that last weekend, which is Saturday and Sunday, we're opening from 12 to 12. Due public demands. The people like comes early and they want to do the shop like early.
There you are, listeners. Before the news break, our guests from the Dubai Souk have attended, have explained that they have 4 days left. Please go in there in large numbers. Enjoy the bargains that are coming up there. There's a lot of different types of shops and also entertainment and also food stalls. And there's ample parking and it's quite a safe environment. So go there in large numbers for these next few days and support the Dubai Souk. Exactly. And our brothers look forward to receiving you. On that note, we'll go for a news break and inshallah we'll continue after the news break. Exactly. I thank those guests to come and join us this evening.
An informative Islamic global perspective. This is Al Ansar News.
Breaking news, this are the 7th of January. The news from Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Maritzburg 105.6 FM. Authorities say KwaZulu-Natal blood stock is at shockingly low level, American money now. The South African National Blood Service has warned that blood stocks in KwaZulu-Natal have declined drastically since the start of the year. The organization says that many donors are still on holiday or traveling. Schools and universities being closed has also put a pause on the collection of crucial stock. The Blood Services Nilashin Govinda has urged donors to give blood at donor centers, mobile blood drives, as well as shopping malls, clinics, beach clinics, and also markets where the blood service operates. Govinda says that the National Blood Service needs to have a 5-day blood supply readily available. However, he says that the country's blood stocks have dropped to below 3.5 days. More news, local media says an eThekwini municipal worker swept up online attention after a video surfaced showing her pushing the dirt and rubbish directly into a storm water drain. It has sparked outrage on social media, with many commentators saying it is such actions that contribute to blocked drains and flooding during heavy rainfall. The widely shared video clip shows the female employee in municipal uniform gathering a pile of dirt before pushing briefly, looking around and then sweeping it into the drain. In a statement to local media, eThekwini municipality says it is aware of the video and has launched an internal investigation into the workers' conduct. It has also condemned the behavior, saying the improper disposal of waste into stormwater drains pollutes waterways and it harms the ecosystem. The city says internal processes will be followed to ensure procedural fairness for all parties involved. The National Energy Regulator of South Africa is inviting public comments on a proposed tariff hike that would see Eskom recovering 76 billion rands following its recent financial difficulties. The new round of consultations follows the regulator's admission last year of a massive calculation error related to the valuation of Eskom's hardware and profit allocation. Energy regulator now wants consumers to foot the bill for the shortfall, which could see a 10% increase in electricity costs. The regulator has been widely criticized, with energy analysts saying it should be held accountable for the issue. The deadline for public comment is the 21st of January. Finally, international story. Iran's foreign minister says the nation's internal affairs are exclusively a matter of the Iranian people, dismissing any outside interference as unacceptable. Speaking to reporters after today's weekly cabinet session, Abbas Araghchi stressed that Iran will not tolerate any foreign interference in its domestic affairs. Turning to international diplomacy, Araghchi denounced Washington's obstructive approach, which he said makes meaningful negotiations impossible at the present. He also highlighted Iran's upcoming visit to Lebanon as a step toward strengthening ties with the Lebanese government and political establishment. Focusing on economic resilience, the minister outlined efforts to reduce reliance on hostile powers, adding that the economic diplomacy deputy is now the most active section of the foreign ministry. The Iranian minister says that they are expanding trade and economic cooperation, particularly with their neighbors, so as to bypass the obstacles imposed by the U.S. government. Your weather at 24 degrees. A quick reminder of our top story. The South African National Blood Service has warned that blood stocks in KwaZulu-Natal have declined drastically since the start of the year. It says that the country's blood stocks have dropped to below 3.5 days. That's the news.
One child, one dream.
A journey with Africa Muslims Agency that began 3 years ago has changed the lives of Syrian and Palestinian refugee children beyond their dreams. Help them to continue their education by sponsoring a student at the Amman School of Excellence in Lebanon for 25,200 Rand per year. Education at Amman can provide a brighter future for refugee families.
AMA, empowering, educating, inspiring.
اللهم بارك لنا في رجب وشعبان وبلغنا رمضان.
Durban Halal Meats, the butcher with a twist. Whether you're firing up the braai or stocking up for your business, we've got you covered. From premium lamb, beef and chicken to custom cuts and bulk orders, all 100% halal certified by Sanha. Enjoy our convenient buy and braai service, fast delivery and easy online ordering at durbanhalalmeats.co.za. Visit us at 84 Felix Dlamini Road. Durban Halal Meats. Quality, affordability, trust. Meat made better.
Elevate your style with Al Noor kurtas and fragrances from Potent Eyes Perfumes, exclusively available at Al Ansar shop. Visit us at 207 West Road or call 031-208-1601. Experience the best in fashion and perfumery. Al Ansar shop where elegance meets fragrance.
Peter Marisburg, get excited. New stock has just landed at Bawa Superstores. Bring the fun home with our amazing range of kids' rechargeable electric ride-on cars. From luxury Bugattis, tough Jeeps, to siren-ready police cars, the perfect ride for every little driver. Find it all at Bawa Superstore, 439 Victoria Road, Peter Marisburg. Don't miss out. Everything you need is waiting for you at Bawa Superstore.
Step into a world of flavor where ordinary becomes extraordinary. At Halton's, every shelf is a little bit magical, from warm, freshly baked treats to imported confectionery that tastes like it traveled across galaxies just to meet you. Discover our daily food menu, home industry gems, and your favorite household brands, all with a global touch. Find us at 358 Brickfield Road, open till 9 p.m. daily, or call 031-207-6108. Halton's, where every bite feels enchanted.
اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين على أرض فلسطين. اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين على أرض فلسطين. اللهم حرر المسجد الأقصى من اليهود الغاصبين. اللهم انصر إخواننا المرابطين على أرض فلسطين. اللهم شد أزرهم وسدد رميهم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم الطف بإخواننا في كل مكان يذكر فيه اسمك يا أرحم الراحمين. استنصروك يا الله فانصرهم. اللهم ارحم الضعفاء والفقراء والمساكين والأيتام والنازحين والمشردين والأسرى يا أرحم الراحمين.
اللهم أنج المستضعفين من المسلمين في فلسطين. اللهم كن لهم عونا ونصيرا. اللهم كن لإخواننا المرابطين في المسجد الأقصى. اللهم كن لهم ولا تكن عليهم. اللهم فرج همهم، نفس كربهم، داوي جرحاهم، عاف مبتلاهم، اشف مرضاهم، ارحم موتاهم، تقبل شهداءهم.
Radio Al-Ansar, Durban, 90.4 FM. Peter Maritzburg, 105.6 FM.
Allah, 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 Allah.
तन्हा हूँ मैं और इंतहा
لاکھوں تنے ہیں سامنے بیٹھا ہوں میں مایوس کن آئے نہ کوئی مجھے تھامنے اللہ اللہ تو میری سن لے صدا حسبنا اللہ ونعم الوکیل حسبنا اللہ ونعم الوکیل حسبنا اللہ ونعم الوکیل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير مایوب ہوں تیرا کرم کرتا رکھا عزت بھی دی بڑھ کے دیا اوقات سے دولت بھی طاقت بھی اور وقت بھی کر دے خطا ہر معاف تو فہرست اسیاں کو چھوڑ دے اللہ اللہ تو میری سن لے صدا حسبنا اللہ ونعم الوکیل حسبنا اللہ ونعم الوکیل حسبنا اللہ ونعم الوکیل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير رنگینیوں خود غرضیوں میں ہے گزاری یہ عمر ہے آرزو بس ایک یہی کر دوں تیرے نام شام و سحر تسکین دل حاصل کروں رخ اپنی جانب تو موڑ دے اللہ اللہ تو میری سن لے صدا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير لب پہ رہے ذکر و دعا اور تجھ سے میں ڈرتا رہوں کر کے عمل قرآن پہ جنت کی راہوں پہ چلتا رہوں خدمت کروں اسلام کی پچھتاوے کا غم توڑ دے اللہ اللہ تو میری سن لے صدا
Listen to News in Focus from Radio Al Ansar, Durban 90.4 and Petermarisburg 105.6 FM every Wednesday from 8 p.m. with Yunus Sacoor. That's 8 p.m. every Wednesday. Radio Al Ansar, keeping you informed.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to News in Focus live on Radio Al Ansar International, broadcasting on the frequency Durban 90.4 FM, Petermarisburg 105.6 FM, and streaming on www.alansar.org.za. Before the news break, we were having an interview with, in respect of the Durban Summer Souk, and a quick report on it and the success of the Durban Summer Souk. We interviewed the founder of then Dubai Souk International, as well as the collaborator, Brother Hanif Salah and Brother Abdu. And they indicated to us that the Dubai Souk will be running until the 11th of January. There's 4 days left. And they encourage our listeners to come in large numbers and support the Souk. They have a lot of interesting stalls and events that are taking place. And they stress that there's a lot of bargains. And so those that couldn't catch much bargains in the Durban Summer Souk 2025, or they then could go into the Dubai Souk. There's a lot of traders out there of different categories, and you can benefit before schools open next week. I know teachers are back in school, But now we're discussing, many people have heard about the Venezuelan crisis, and we know America has stepped in there and creating all kinds of problems. And, they obviously, intervened in the current government where, Maduro was, arrested or taken away, and his successor is Delcy Rodriguez. There's various sort of comments coming through on why did President Trump get involved? Is he there to, take over countries? Is he interested in the oil reserves like what he's done in the UAE and Saudi Arabia? Does he want to control the world economy? These are the kind of issues we need to discuss and get clarity on. And with us on the studio, we have Brother Mustafa Darsot. He has donned the Venezuelan cap and he's joined us in the studio. And Sister Sumaya Khan will be conducting a brief interview with Mustafa Darsot on the Venezuelan crisis. Sumaya, over to you.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Mustafa.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To your Sister Sumaya, Brother Yunus, and all the listeners of Radio Al-Ansar.
Do you know, right now I just feel like taking my hand and putting it on my head, comrade.
Salute.
Salute. Looking at Trump, Venezuela, and global political interference, at how super politics reshape fragile states. When we look at how global superpowers influence and intervene in and sometimes destabilize fragile states, Venezuela stands as a powerful example of how sanctions, leadership battles and foreign interference intersect. And this have always been there in history when you go back, studying especially socialism and communism. From the Trump administration going to that now, hard line policies to ongoing geopolitical maneuvering, we ask whether external pressure brings democratic or deepen suffering. When we're looking at this, how did USA foreign policy under Trump reshape Venezuela's political crisis?
Well, when you say under Trump, it's not under Trump. It's been going on for a while. It's actually started from the Clinton era. In 1999, the late Hugo Chavez became president of Venezuela. And he was president for about 14 years until 2013 when he passed away due to cancer. And Nicolas Maduro, who is the president that was kidnapped in an extraordinary rendition, took over as his groom successor, and who was able to carry out, or was entrusted to carry out, the policies that Hugo Chavez started off with. Of course, what happened was that it came to a point that Venezuela, at that point, after Brazil and Argentina, was about the most developed country in Latin America. In fact, if one has to go back in, you got Brazil, which is the leading economic powerhouse. You got followed by Argentina, and Chile, and then you got Venezuela. Now, and then they were all strategically positioned in different parts of the continent. Brazil on the east, Argentina on the south, on the one side of the south, Chile on the alongside it, and you had Venezuela in the north. And they were growing economies, vibrant economies, and what was in the advantage was that the people in those countries were hardworking. Right? I mean, you take when people from South Africa went to Sao Paulo in the 80s, they thought they were actually going through New York City. Unbelievable development at that time. But what happened was that because at the end of the day, you must know that this was a result of your post-colonial area that these countries were growing. Like how you had the white man in South Africa firmly in control of the economy of this country. And okay, yes, we had a difference. We had apartheid and we had an oppressive apartheid regime. In Latin America, a lot of countries were ruled by oppressive dictators. Right? And because those oppressive dictators were generally supported by the white elite, so they allowed the white elite businesses to flourish, then of course that comes off. Of course, there needs to be infrastructure development, etc. So you found that you had the certain class privileging, a certain class that were privileged and benefiting, whereas you had a widening lower class that was, getting worse off. And the moment countries try to embrace democracy in Latin America, conveniently, the Americans stop them. America goes preaching to the whole world, we are the world's best democracy. We are the world's, everybody is, jealous of what we have, right? Okay, a bit of rhetoric short of what the Israelis go on about it being the only democracy in the Middle East, right? But yet, they will support dictatorships and despotic regimes all over the world. They will only support the democracies elsewhere if that democracy toes the line with them. And that's the reality. In 1973, when Allende won the elections in Chile as a democratically elected president, they brought in, the Americans had him overthrown and brought in Augusto Pinochet, which saw the country grow to one of the worst human rights atrocities. Of course, many other examples, Guatemala, you can name it. So Venezuela was one of those countries that was also prospering, but you had this impoverished lower class. And Hugo Chavez, socialist background, he was also in the military, and he came in and he decided to change things, and that was his motto. And one of the first few things he did is that he revived things like the co-op system. You heard about the cooperative system in South Africa, especially in the agricultural sector, etc. That's what he did, and he empowered rural communities, and things were going well. Then, of course, he took over the oil industry, and he then the PDVSA is by its acronym PDVSA, right? Petroleum de whatever Venezuela, SA as in limited, right? So PDVSA became the national oil company, and basically telling all the oil giants of whether it was the American Exxon Mobil, Texaco, Chevron, Caltex, and of course your European oil giants, the buck stops with us here, right? And decided that, you know what, at the end of the day, this oil belongs to Venezuela, and the government will take control. So what happened was that he wanted to bring in the military to handle the economy of the country. Something like what you see already been damaged to Egypt and Pakistan. The military are so entrenched in those countries that at the end of the day, you take Imran Khan. The moment things were, well, they found, the military found that he was, you take Asim Munir, the military general, was the chief. The moment he felt, okay, you know what, this man here is stepping out of line, had him overthrown, right? Brought in Shahbaz Sharif, who was all we know through, it was too good to be true, and had Imran Khan thrown into jail, and still languishing now, right? We saw the same thing happen in Egypt, right? The reason why Mubarak had to resign and step down because of the popular uprising, right, of the Arab Spring, and the military decided to engage and indulge the population by saying, okay, fine, Mubarak, your time is up, people want you out, step down, right? Then the Ikhwan came in because of popularity. People wanted the Ikhwan, right? However, the Ikhwan had to toe the line with the military, right? The moment they went parting ways, that's where you saw Sisi coming. Morsi was overthrown and Sisi brought in, and the situation has been from 2013 till now. It's no secret. That's what you see. What Egypt is. In fact, one of the accomplishments they'll boast about is where we built a brand new capital city on the outskirts of Cairo, right? Something that's very high tech, but again on the back of obscene poverty. Right? So the same thing happened in Venezuela, is that you brought in military people into the economy. There was one mistake. They didn't have the skills, the expertise, right? And that's where things started to go wrong, right? And then at the same time, because of the standoff to America, etc., and Hugo Chavez was very firm. And of course, you had a nutcase like George Bush, who is, when he was in power, everyone thought America can't get worse as a president until Trump came along, right? But at the end of the day, Hugo Chavez at one stage said George Bush is a monkey, and said it openly, right? So he was assertive. Unfortunately, with Nicolas Maduro, is that he's a weaker personality. Yes, he tried very hard to resist the outside pressure, But America, with its boycotting the Venezuelan oil, or they said, okay, we'll buy the oil provided you allow our oil companies to come in to your country, or you give it to us at discounted rates or certain concessions, okay, and which Venezuela was not compromising to. And of course, that continued and continued, and the only reason why Trump has gone after Venezuela is because he needs a distraction. I don't know if you remember, people kept on saying that Trump was a president that didn't have an appetite for war, and we saw that in his first term, right? Suddenly, in 1 year, he's attacked eight countries. Right? Even if it's just an overnight raid, but he's attacked 8 countries. And the reason why he needed this distraction is because he came in with this ticket of, I'm going to bring the jobs back to America this time around for sure, introduce the tariffs, and we're gonna cut spending. He had Elon Musk there with Doge, Department of Government Efficiency. All those plans of his have backfired. It's not working out. So you need a distraction. I mean, it's not that there's a shortage of oil that America needs, that the demand is so high that they had to go and seize another country's oil. This was obviously pre-planned, and you must also know, at the end of the day, the president of America is not the ultimate decision maker. It's those that pull the strings behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, that is why the people from those countries are their own liberators. Do you know, when you're looking at sanctions, do the sanctions weaken governments or just the ordinary citizens? Because currently that's...
Well, actually, the sanctions are aimed at the governments, right? We saw it in South Africa. Let's take our lived experience. I'm sure you know, Sister Sumaya, Yunus, from, right, that at the end of the day, sanctions that were imposed in South Africa were meant to hurt the apartheid regime, right? And how much effect did it have in the beginning? It didn't have much of an effect until really when it came to 1986, when it was a turning point where the sanctions had really now gone to the extent of where, if I still remember an interview with F.W. de Klerk about, say, maybe about 8 years after South Africa became, about 8 years after we came into the new South Africa, said that, we came to a point that we couldn't export a case of wine. When it started hitting the big businesses of the white corporate elite in this country, that's when they decided to eat humble pie and engage the ANC, into negotiations and do away with the apartheid system, but that's also only on paper, right? So the same thing with sanctions in say against Venezuela, sanctions. You take Iran, right? Iran is going through crippling sanctions because of the nuclear program. Right now, there are massive protests. I know we're going to talk about Iran, but again, because of the sanctions are really hurting. Now you take a country like Syria, who had sanctions imposed upon them, right? For 14 years, since the war started in 2011, the civil war, it was imposed against the Assad regime and his military generals and his inner circle. Assad lasted 14 years. It didn't hurt him personally. The country out of Damascus was destroyed. People are coming back with first-hand accounts, right, of saying that when you go to certain cities, it's like what you see Gaza today. That's how it's been destroyed. But it hurt the people. So at the end of the day, sanctions are meant to hurt a government and a military that's in charge, but ultimately the people pay the price. Right? And now that, of course, there was a deal made with Saudi Arabia and Turkey because they want to get the country back up again, and the sanctions have been formally lifted, something which is an achievement for the people. And that's the same thing that even A.B. Dawji keeps on saying that when he goes to Iran, and I interview him sometimes when he's there or when he gets back, he talks about it, that you got lovely, clean streets. The verges are clean, parks are clean, you got good roads, everything, but people are suffering under sanctions. It's the people who suffer.
Thanks, Mustafa. I think you've given us quite a good background of the situation in Venezuela and in the other parts of the world. I want to bring in Sam Kennedy. Sam, very often in South Africa, and our listeners, they always are biased, wanting to know that the oil cartel that the USA wants to control whether it's UAE, Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, all the oil-producing countries, now Venezuela, and Venezuela is the biggest oil producer when compared to other countries. Russia is also so big in oil. We in South Africa feel the impact if the price of crude rises, and linked to our rand, we then feel the impact at our fuel stations. Now, this particular intervention in USA on the Venezuelan, and now the deputy president has been requested to be the acting president, a lady by the name of Delcy Rodriguez. Now, obviously, she has also got a lot of baggage, but from the South African perspective, because that's what our listeners want to hear, what impact does this have on the price of crude in South Africa? Because ultimately, our community and citizens go to the sort of petrol stations, and they're happy to hear that 95 and 93 fuel is down by 62 cents a liter and consistently coming down because the price of crude oil is coming down, and our rand is improving in value. So how does these things impact on South African economy? And at the same time, we know that China has got an interest, and these countries are beginning to now look at, do we really trade in petrodollars, or do we really move towards the Chinese currency? Sam, if you could just give us a bit of a background and a feedback on how does it affect us in South Africa.
Thanks, Yunus. I think it's called geopolitics. Geopolitics, and you and I have been talking about this for 5 years. Geopolitics has at its core subjective opinions. In other words, everybody is entitled to make an opinion, right? What drives the world? The world is driven by economics. It's the only thing drives the world. And the players that drive the world are the USA, and particularly Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, the Emiratis, and the guys who control oil, because that's what drives the world. Why do we say that? You can see electric vehicles, they call them EVs, the acronym. Electric vehicles, I've just read yesterday, I've read today, I've read the last few days, Porsche and VW in China, there's nothing on the floors because people are moving away from electric vehicles because the world is reliant on crude oil. Now, Venezuela has the largest oil or crude oil deposits in the world.
26% of the world's crude.
They got $3,000 million. Barrels of oil reserve. America's only got 45 million. Russia's got 90 or 80. Saudi is in the top 3. Nigeria is in the top 7. Those are the main guys. The history of the relationship between Venezuela or Latin America and the US is an ideological, what's the right word? It's not a war, but it's an ideological issue. And it all boils down to Cuba, right? Hugo Chavez. Now, everybody wants to be a Chavez fan. I'm not, right? Straight. The world is driven by not capitalism. The world is driven by a free market system. And it's benefiting, in particular, in this country, our Muslim folk, our Indian folk, and our white folk. Because we operate primarily through IBM, through Dell, through Apple, through whatever. So we need to improvise without isolating ourselves as South Africans. What we want is the best value for our buck. In other words, which you quite rightly say, we want to see the South African rand strengthen, contrary to what the socialists in the ANC think, right? Under Mbeki, the rand was one of the most strongest emerging currencies in the world. And South Africa had a GDP of in excess of 6%. because that is the way the world is geared. The world is not geared towards a socialist system. That's why China is battling. That's why Russia is battling. We've got to get to a stage where, and Mbeki showed it, and I'm not a Mbeki fan. Mbeki showed that you need to be in between without be proing this or pro that. Because ultimately, as this brother says, it ultimately comes down to the people, right? Governments can have all their debates and all their philosophical differences and ideological analyses. Ultimately, the bottom line is the people will never govern, that's for sure. Governments govern, and it's always an elite. Hugo Chavez was an elite. Now, I'll give you an example of Hugo Chavez. Hugo Chavez, if you understand voting systems, right? And I'm extremely knowledgeable in this, is this voting system called Dominion Voting Systems, which was developed by a Venezuelan engineer, IT engineer. South Africa uses Dominion Voting Systems. Hugo Chavez tweaked it to such an extent, and it's called binary. It's called algorithms, where they were winning elections, but not having won it at the ballot box. And America picked it up, right? So Dominion Voting Systems has been barred from most states in the USA because Nicolas Maduro was doing the same thing. He was persecuting his opponents. They're still languishing in jail, being ill-treated, right? He's a dictator. And he must face the consequences for what he did. The law will determine whether he did right or wrong. Not me, not you, and not my brother there. A simple grand jury will determine whether he, and let me put it to you this way, the guy who put a bounty on his head wasn't Donald Trump. The guy who put a bounty on his head was Joe Biden. And Joe Biden is a social democrat. So the point is, Trump is just a puppet of implementation. The guy who started the process, in fact, was Barack Obama, right? All we're saying as South Africans, we don't want to muddy the water. The statement of Ronald Lamola that they disagree with this, disagree with that, that's their right. As long as it doesn't... In fact, let me just go one step further. Turkey, which is a Muslim state, is now aligning with the US. Why? Not because they like the US. I mean, Erdogan has said very, very clearly on multiple occasions that he disagrees with the Yanks, with their aggression, with the way they operate, with their style against Muslim nations, and a number of issues. But like Sharif in Pakistan, right? Even Modi disagrees with Donald Trump on a number of issues. But they say for the sake of the people and the economy, because at the end of the day, people don't eat policy, people don't eat ideology, people eat hard cash. Without cash, you're dead. And so we, as a nation, have got to say, and I'll say two things before I close. We want our people to benefit, right? And when people go to sleep, they don't eat socialism. They don't eat communism. True. They eat money. My brother is right. And I support him 100% on the issue of ordinary, poor, disenfranchised people living on the poverty datum line. We want petrol price to come down. Now, the difference between America, and I'm not supporting America, and neither do I support Venezuela. The issue with America and Venezuela is sitting in the United Nations, unfortunately, and you and I discussed it over the last 5 years. America has got what we call veto rights. So 99% of the United Nations can go and make all the noises they like. All America has got to do, and this is fact, they can just stand up and say, we veto, and once they veto, the matter's closed.
True.
Right? So as a nation, how big is South Africa? And my brother will tell you. South Africa is so minute, they're not even as big as California as a state. economically, right? We got to be smart, and we got to learn lessons from people like Nelson Mandela. We got to learn from people like Thabo Mbeki. You got to take a middle road for the interest of the people. We are not a factor when it comes to global politics. 2, we've seen the decision of Cyril Ramaphosa and the ICC and how it's backfired against them. Backfired in such a bad way that who's suffering? Ramaphosa's not suffering. He had Christmas in Mauritius. Who's suffering? The people. Who's suffering? The businesses. Who's suffering? Not enough GDP, not enough income going around. So we've got to try and encourage our people and say, folks, whatever we do, stay humble, make dua, pray in whatever faith you believe in, trust the Almighty, as you say, Yunus, all the time, that somewhere, somehow, things can change for South Africans for the better, instead of getting tied up in Venezuelan politics. We'd hardly even do trade with them. I just saw the statistics this morning. We did 1 billion with them last year, USD. Mickey Mouse. Nothing. So why are we making big issues?
Listen, Samuel, that's why I said we need to bring the reality back to our South African setup. Now, we know in the Middle East there's been a lot of issues, and Saudi Arabia is controlling a large reserves of oil. And as we see the price of oil dropping, our South African citizens get happy because it's going to have an impact in the price of fuel, because effectively transport costs affect the economy big time. And when we go to these gas stations, I mean, you wait for petrol price to drop and then you go and fill up your tanks. But also the transport costs get implicated and that affect the price of goods. Now, I want to bring back the other subject we want to discuss today is South Africa in uproar in terms of unemployment. And we discussed in many, many years in this particular program that the unemployment rate is ever increasing in South Africa. Whilst the overall unemployment rate is about 32 to 34%, in terms of the youth looking for employment in South Africa, it's well above 40%. So in other words, those people that are graduating in universities, the matriculants, etc., looking for jobs, it's a huge problem. And government is not employing these guys because they got a now reverse apartheid policy. We spoke earlier about the Durban Summer Souk, now the Dubai Souk, and these events are means of employing people and creating entrepreneurship. Because ultimately, as you said, it is what people can earn to sustain a living that's crucial. Because if there's a crisis abroad, we can see what impact it has in South Africa. And at the end of the day, even what's happening in Gaza, South Africa, the communities are supporting and praying and hoping for the best. But at the end of the day, our informal settlements here, our poor communities are also facing hardship. And we have to look after those communities as well. So from a perspective of job creation and the current setup in government, Sam, and I want to bring Mustafa in as well, we have a world global crisis. And our economists talk about the crisis. And firstly, he talks about the impact it has on South Africa. Because, I mean, Mustafa, you're running a laundry business. And you obviously relying on trade from people in the country. Now, they will only come and trade if they have the means to trade. We spoke about the souk, that people going to attend the souk, they must have the buying power to make that souk successful because the traders rely on that. So from the perspective of the South African situation in uproar, because there's not enough jobs, perhaps, Sam, you just want to give us a bit of a quick analysis on what has changed, because obviously in the apartheid era, the whites were being predominantly employed, and a few Indian and coloreds were coming in, and the blacks were left aside. Now, over 30 years into democracy, it's a reverse. So how do we sort the problem out? How do we create employment opportunities for our graduates? In fact, medical doctors are finding it difficult to be placed. Many of them have to go to other parts of the country to be placed, and many of them are unemployed.
Yes.
So, Sam, if you just want to quickly comment on that situation.
Thanks, Yunus. Last week, I had the opportunity to travel to Tuba because I deal with lots of chiefs.
Now, in Tuba, for the benefit of those that don't know where it is, could you just explain where it is?
It's 20 minutes outside Richards Bay on the main road to...
It's in the northern part of
Zululand. It's on the way to Pongola. It's got a population of about just under 500,000. And that economy is booming. It's cash economy, and believe me, it's booming. Okay, so I went to Dubai, and I stayed in a B&B that was owned by a black woman who's a professor, and she's a professor at UKZN. And very interestingly, she says, we do everything virtual now, literally. And she says, we work through screens, virtual screens, like a little call center. And she says, students are not what they used to be because of the 30% pass rate. A lot of people think, 30, everybody criticized 30%. But she made a very telling point that because the students know that the rate is 30%, the impact and the emphasis into learning is no longer a factor. That was a critical issue for me. And therefore, what is coming out of the process is a very low level of intellect.
100%.
Not the intellect of the individual, the standard. So, what we want to do, and this is where you got to appreciate the ANC, that they've come in and they found a very fragile, dysfunctional education system for the African only. Forget about the Indian community, forget about the colored community. We always had a very high level of education. Now, you've got this big monolithic block that you're trying to push through a small little bottleneck. Because you've got to churn them out. Because if you don't churn them out, you'll end up having either to build more schools, more universities, or alternatively, you reduce the standard and you get more through. And that's what they chose. Consequentially, we're churning out a very, not a mediocre group of people, but we're churning out a low grade of education standard. And what is happening is the market is unable to employ because the standard is no longer there. So we're not skilled on average on IT. And if you go and look at IT, it's mainly white, those of Indian origin, and colored. Very few black. You go on civil engineers, same story. You go on doctors, which you just mentioned, same story. You go on specialists, same story. You go on aeronautical, same story. You go on military systems, same story. And so it appears on face value that the African is being isolated or is being ostracized, but is not. And it's because it's the system that is disempowering them. And what government needs to do, and this is where the problem is, Yunus, the money we collect in tax, called fiscus, we pay $1 billion plus a day only on interest before we even service the debt. So 365 billion plus. If you add the debt on as well, we're paying literally $500 billion a year, and we only collect 2 trillion. Now, anybody sitting in their house can say to themselves, and we're not here to talk politics today, we're talking about real issues, is if that is the case, then surely South Africa is in a state of dysfunctionality.
So, Sam, I just want to pick up on a very important aspect you raised. To me, as an educator, the standard of education is dropping because of the pass rate, or, you brought in 30%. Previously, it used to be 50%. And as you rightly mentioned, you can't stagnate. If, for example, 50% flop or fail, they're going to repeat. And then those coming behind them, the classes are overcrowded and there is a problem.
Can I correct you there?
Yes.
We're not allowed to fail learners.
Okay. That's
we are not allowed to fail. Now, when you're looking at it from a political point of view, from an economy point of view, it's costing government money.
So even if
educators,
now
senior
what you're
educators.
saying, Sumaya, is even if they get below 30%, you're going to promote them.
Now,
In other words, you call it condonation.
we don't even we actually call it the new word intervention. We are not allowed to fail. Seasoned educators fight this with DOE. It's an ongoing fight. Principals come down from DOE like a ton of bricks.
To simplify it for the benefit of our listeners, and Mustafa, you're listening, you have a situation where if you're talking about grade 6 or grade 5, 40 learners in a class, 30 made the cut, 10 didn't make the cut. You pass them with the 30 into the next
100%.
So obviously they're going to progressively become weaker because now they couldn't cope on grade 5.
100%.
You're putting them in grade 6. It's going to be a bigger challenge. Do you find learners making the grade as they go along, or progressively do they get worse?
They do not make the grade. But again, government system, DOE, we call it intervention. If a child cannot read, do not understand that paper, if just say you're dealing something with just say crustaceans, we tell them, draw a crab. And we give them the mark on the crab, intervention. So we're not actually helping the child. We're helping the system.
Now, up to what grade does that go on? Even up to grade 12?
Yes. At grade 10, a child can fail as many times. And then they're either sent to pre-vocational schools or they leave school. Now, that is where, as you say, they meet their Moses. It's a system which a qualified, seasoned educator do not like. I'm one of them. But unfortunately, what do you do? Who do you fight?
Now, what is the problem of this crisis, Sam? Is it because of family background, or
Money.
these sort of not really? What we're trying to work out is, if you look at the schooling system back in the days, with the apartheid era, there were special school for coloreds, Indians, and those communities basically thrived. Now, you can't blame the black kid because they were brought up in the farm with very little facilities. Parents were uneducated. There was no schooling for them. And suddenly they're brought into a school. And at the age 5 or 6, they're behind the 8-ball game big time because of the limitations they had. Now, they're finding it difficult to make the ground. Because what you're talking about now is that those industries that you were expecting people to be competent, they compromised. We haven't even touched those that are being employed in government, because what you're telling me now is that government is a big source of employment. And in the last 2 decades, they've been employing incompetent people. And this is why your service delivery is dropping, which we've been harping over for the last couple of years. So now, is that going to get worse? Or is government going to re-look at that? Because what's happening now, on the one side, you're putting people that are not qualified for the job. You're putting them into positions at different levels, management, technical, and otherwise. On the other side, you got other communities that they made the cut, but they can't get jobs. And then they obviously at home, or they're trying to do home industry, etc., to sustain a living. So how do we deal with this problem, Sam?
Thanks, Yunus. To the man in the street and to the listener, allow me to say the following. And I'm saying,
you say we've got a crisis. That's what you're saying.
We have a crisis of governance. We've got a crisis of what? Governance. What is a crisis of governance? We have a crisis of a one-party state. That was the first mistake we made. You can never, in a flourishing democracy, allow one party to hold in excess of 51%. That's why it's called. You see, this is one of the challenges of the ANC, which is quite hypocritical and quite diabolical, and it tends to come through. And pardon me, Mustafa, salam, my brother. It tends to come through primarily with those who identify, who are not religious, who adopt or are enthused by a socialist, Marxist, communist ideology. And what is it? They like absolute power. They like absolute power. And in that cocoon of absolute power, they have elitism, which was Hugo Chavez, including Nicolas Maduro. And in that system is corruption. And that is why South Africa is suffering, is being broken by corrupt tendencies and corrupt practices. In other words, you know and I know and everybody who's listening knows. Anything you can work it out. We say, bro, you know what? I know you're giving me a fine, or I know you know what, let's work it out. How much do we do to get this thing to go away, or whatever the case may be. So what I'm saying is, what we need as a country, firstly, and it started in 2024 for the first time, the ANC was reduced to under 40%, 39 point something. Super. Not because we're anti-ANC, it's good for democracy because it's multi-party democracy. What the ANC likes saying, and they've just made the statement through DERCO, and they've made it through all their press releases, and I listened to Fagilan Balula saying the same thing. If you ask for multiculturalism, in other words, you embrace the prefix of multi-ism, why not embrace the principle of multi-democracy, multi-party democracy? Because the more people we have in the system, the better it is for every one of us. So in order for our education system to change, to enable to uplift our masses, we have to empower them through training. And the only way we can do that is we've got to build more technical colleges, not technical universities, technical colleges, nursing colleges. Two, the biggest mistake we made as a country, and I just saw an article, and pardon me if you haven't seen it. I don't know if you've seen the Competition Tribunal on Lewis Stores versus ShopRite Checkers. Did you see that article? Yes. Came out yesterday and today, right? Sitting before the Constitutional Court. What is it? Lewis is blocking PEP from buying House and Home, Bradlow's, and so forth. Why? Because it disempowers small and medium business. This government has one agenda only, and that agenda is they make their money on big business. You know why? Because they have less tax practitioners. The more small business you have, the more tax practitioners you got to have, the more auditors you got to have, which is what we want. But the reason why they like big business, because it's easy to tax, easy to control, easy to manage, follow systems. They do all the work for you. No SARS. I mean, you're an accountant, you know all that's going on. We need to change that narrative in order to empower our people. Two, the South African Reserve Bank is doing it, which we raised last year. If the inflation targeting globally is based on the following precept, that first world nations are between 0 and 2%. Emerging economies are between 2 and 4%. Why is South Africa 4 to 6? The governor of the Reserve Bank has actually vindicated the point I raised, where he said we need to be between 2 and 4, and we need to be on average 3. In other words, we got to curtail inflation down to 3, because if you curtail inflation down to 3 for people, and I've studied economics, for people who don't understand, if you keep inflation low, the cost of your rand doesn't depreciate as fast as 6% or plus 6. So what happens? You have more money in your bank account, your economy grows better, you have less interest, which in Islamic law you don't accept, because either it's profit, interest is taboo, it's haram. So they're moving towards that, which they should have done 20 years ago.
Sam, thanks a lot, man. I left Mustafa to think about a lot of issues. Mustafa, we're running out of time, and the subjects we chose are so interesting, and we move from one angle to another, and we bring it down to local South African setup. And because of Sam's involvement in government, and to an extent my involvement, and the listeners who are listening want to know what impact it has on us. a lot of them are saying, we're hearing a lot of turmoil in the global setup, but how does it affect us? So what I want you to come in the next 5 minutes, Mustafa, is just to summarize, the setup in Venezuela, what's happening in the Middle East, what's happening in Russia, Ukraine setup. There's a lot of challenges in other parts of the world. But locally, what Sumaya is saying is that our education system is being compromised because of the standards dropping and the pass rates. You can't fail anybody in a hurry. Your comments, by summarizing exactly what you've been hearing, that, does the impact of the global setup, does it interest us or have an impact on us, and to what extent? And exactly what is your proposal on how South Africans should be thinking in terms of the turmoil globally?
Well, firstly, we've seen in South Africa a collapse of many things, and of course, one of the education system is one of them, right? The whole world is in turmoil, of course, in different at different levels, depends on which part of the world you're looking at, and every country is having a problem of some sorts, and facing numerous challenges. So, looking at in America, they're going through a real identity crisis of whether they want to be white supremacist nation or they want to be a land for all, run by a psychotic moron like Trump, who's unpredictable, etc. Then you've got Venezuela, who have, of course, yes, the country did go through a lot of problems, especially economically, runaway inflation. For example, South Africa has developed a very good maktab system in Latin America. This has been going on from about the early 90s, where a few South African ulama went and set up maktabs in Venezuela, Argentina, Chile. And what happened was that you had small communities flourish with madrasas. People like, I know somebody personally from Chatsworth who's there, right? But when the runaway inflation got to such a point where people couldn't get food because that paper was worthless, they had to obviously leave the maktab to the understudies, who were the locals, who were by then ready to handle the situation, and then relocate to Argentina and Chile. But it takes a lot of sacrifice. Person has to learn Spanish. I mean, apart from because you're in a totally different territory. But what I'm trying to say is that these are these challenges that different nations face. So Venezuela has gone through that, and you'll get people that will be celebrating Maduro's capture, even as much as it's illegal, as abhorrent as it is, but will be celebrating because they will look at this as an opportunity for the country to, reinvent itself or to re-prosper. Coming to South Africa, yes, commendable what we've done by taking Israel to the ICJ, an excellent move, but it comes at a cost, and we can see it. Right now, the new ambassador from America that's been appointed to South Africa, he's made it blatantly clear that he's going to make it his mission to force South Africa to withdraw from the ICJ. How much will South Africa be able to stand that pressure? America just has to, again, whether it's, yes, we know it's AfriForum that's putting up the American authorities to thinking there's a white genocide against whites in South Africa. We know that Rob Hersoff is causing a lot of mischief, and he's one of the biggest culprits. In fact, he's shown his true colors recently. I think today and yesterday was a clip going around showing about his Islamophobic views, right? So you have those sort of characters that will be pouring more fuel on the fire, right, to hurt South Africa. But at the end of the day, how much can the South African government of the day, which is already on a back foot because of so many failures, and we spoke about it last week when we were at the souk about, coming the next these elections of 2026, especially in KwaZulu-Natal and especially in eThekwini, the expectant results, and there's a concern that MK is going to basically take over, and that's a reality. As much as Brother Imran Sobrati said that the NC is making effort to, try and win the support, but that's left to be seen. So coming to that, how much can the government they'll eventually have to give way some way or the other. It will come at a huge cost, but they have to give way some way or the other. Yes, it will be admirable if you can stand your principles, but at the same time, it's hurting the man on the street. Right? You get people who have, you saw it when that aircraft was stuck in Joburg Airport in November with the Palestinians that were on that bizarre charter flight, right? Where for the first time, and we've seen it, in milder doses in the past, but firstly, there was a major attack about why we allowed these terrorists to come in our shores. Then there was an attack on Gift of the Givers. Then you saw a sudden mobilization of African social media influencers who are also echoing the same narrative of the Zionists, right? And it was very coordinated, right? So you see that sort of thing happening. But at the same time, looking at the... so that's on the South African perspective. Looking at the current situations elsewhere, right now there's a big volatility in the Middle East. Nobody would have thought that Saudi Arabia and the Emirates will be at loggerheads, although they're trying to water it down and trying to cool it down. But you've got the Emirates who are fixated in working with Israel wherever they are interfering, right? The recognition of Somaliland in Yemen, wherever it is. Even in fact, it just came out yesterday that the Emirates is now working with the renegade Druze factions that have been supported by Israel in Syria to destabilize Syria. So you have those sort of situation. Right now, Russia. Everybody had this thing that Russia stands up to the West. I circulated it the other day that no matter how much, where is Russia's voice? Why is Putin so silent on Maduro's capture? Even China. Yes, you got the spokesperson for the government say, like how we had Rana Mullah, but you have the spokesperson of the government to say that we take strongest condemnation against what Donald Trump did. But at the end of the day, where are these leaders who are supposed to be? Everyone was saying that, you know what, if tomorrow America strikes at Venezuela, Russia and China will be there to protect it. Where are they? Why are they so silent? Right? Unless there's a deal being made. And there's a suspicion that America, you have your way with Venezuela, Russia will have its way with Ukraine, and China, not so much with Taiwan, although Taiwan and the China problem is one, but mainland China America has always barked at mainland China, especially over East Turkestan, where the Uyghurs are, and Tibet has been occupied territory, and to back off on to say that, okay, let China maintain its mainland China integrity, right, territorial integrity, and back off. So there is some deal of some sort. What's the deal? That's a suspicion, but that's what we're looking at.
Some interesting points Mustafa has mentioned. Sumaya, I want to bring you in now. You mentioned that there's no restriction, education, people are just allowed to pass and go on, and there's a stumbling block when they reach a particular grade. China is concentrating in making money for itself, and Mustafa just alluded to the fact that they're quiet, because they're more interested in trading with other people in the world, making sure their economy is flourishing. Putin is all over the place. He's worried about what happened in Ukraine, but he's silent about challenges that are taking place. South Africa stuck its neck out and went to ICJ and got all the credit for it, but they're facing the consequences with what USA is doing now. And Sam pointed out that UK, USA, and the Western Bloc are working in close, liaison with each other to control the world economy. Now, from South Africans' perspective, ordinary people, our population, we've got elections coming up, and we got to concentrate on the economy, because when the Minister of Finance talks on the budget, he's got to make sure that he balances the budget, but also takes care of the local problems in South Africa, because you go to the informal settlements, you go to the township, Sam goes on his electioneering campaign in Shlushlui and various other places. People want to know from him, where's the jobs, where's the food on the table, how can we sustain ourselves? Even graduates now are finding it difficult to get work. So from an educational perspective, we're running out of time. We want to close. Do you believe that needs to be re-looked at to ensure that you get competent people going to university, graduating with the right standard, and people getting appointed on merit, but the job creation situation must be implemented by government and industry in South Africa.
Well, 100%. If you look at it, I would say, if you're just being realistic and hardcore, we're creating a community, a nation who's illiterate in not so many words. If you think about it, you mentioned something about these countries, Russia, China, controlling different worlds, even America. Do you know at one point, I think Darasot and Samuel, you guys will vouch for me, they wanted South African children in schools to learn Mandarin. Me being an Indian who can't speak isiZulu or even know Afrikaans just so fluently, but I must learn Mandarin. A couple of years ago, this was a big thing. But again, it's about politics and control. End of the day, it boils down to that. But again, our leaders also need to look at it, and not about lining their pockets and their coffers. It's about creating a nation of literacy, which in return creates a nation which prospers. And right now, we are not there. If you look at it, we have the highest unemployment rate amongst the youth. And it's not because our youth is lazy. Honestly and realistically speaking, they just don't know what to do and where to go. And they do not have the basic skills to equip themselves in finding a job, even internationally. So we do have a dilemma, and we need to urgently look into it, because in the years to come, as it is currently, we have a reputation where our students are not accepted in universities and tertiary institutions out of South Africa because our standards are so low. And we fool ourselves, we lie, we bluff ourselves that no, we have 100% pass rate. But we do not. We are just crooking the books, as you call it.
Sam, your closing comments?
Thank you, Yunus. Again, let me say
don't focus too much on the change of government. I'm talking about what is the way forward. We have indicated to you when we had the Durban Summer Soak, we employed 5,000 people.
Absolutely.
200 million change hands in the economy. We made it happen. I'm saying NGOs need to make it happen. So what's the way forward on your side? From a government perspective, we know that a new government comes in, they may just be an extension of the current government. I mean, as Mustafa said, in KZN, the ANC was ruling, if MK comes in or Mayabuya comes in, it's going to be a different ball game. But how would they improve the situation that Sumaya is talking about?
I think without getting into politics, because we don't want to talk about the future of 2026, but there's absolutely no ways that MK will run Durban. I think it'll be a coalition of sort, probably led by MK. I think it's folly, F-O-L-L-Y, to think that MK will suddenly come and sweep. That's not going to happen.
Sam, to correct you there, MK had 48% or 47% of the vote in KZN, and they're not running province. A coalition is running province.
All I'm saying is...
So that may well happen again.
I think it's going to happen. Two is what do we firstly, we need to be patriotic. We need to be patriotic in nature. We need to be patriotic in thought. We need to be patriotic physicality. So in other words, we've got to come back to the roots of I love South Africa. That's a fundamental principle. Two, we need to, without getting into politics, we need to change government. Because anybody, anywhere in the world will tell you when a government don't work, it's like a shop. If you buy from ShopRite Checkers or from Pick and Pay and they give you bad service, what do? You change. There's nothing wrong with that.
Correct.
Whether they gave your forefathers whatever they gave, time to change. Because the Gen Zs, the millennials, they want to see what we call their progressiveness. So the notion that we want to keep the same in 2026 of an MK government or whatever, I'm sorry, that's not going to work. We want a government that's going to make change. Two, don't rely on politics for economics, or else you'll end up like Hugo Chavez, where they manipulate the Dominion voting systems and they create chaos. We want our people to go to school. We want our people to get decent education. We want our government to give decent salaries. But most importantly, we want government to do what it did between 96 and the year 2006. What did they do in those 10 years? They empowered small and local businesses, Indian businesses, colored businesses, and black businesses. How did they do that? Through grants. What did Jacob Zuma do? That's why I don't agree with MK. He cut the grants to entrepreneurs. Why? Because he's a socialist. He didn't see the need for it. What did Cyril Ramaphosa do? He continued on the same trajectory. What do we want? We want Mustafa's laundry to be able to access grants, because America is killing our economy by not including us in AGOA. So as long as we're not in AGOA, which is free trade into America, and let me just say, Mustafa's made some good points, but let me just say, brother, the key of why America controls the world, whether we agree or disagree, you got to give the Qataris and the Emiratis their due. They're smarter than us. You can say what you like. They got more brains than us economically. And you know what their brains is in? They know how to manage money. Because money drives the world. Not policy, not sentiment, money. They're building major skyscrapers while we're sitting arguing about who's a communist and who's a Marxist. Thank you.
Sam, thanks a lot, man. We need to wrap up, and I'd like to conclude with Lutfia Sayed's comment. She says, much love and blessings, because we went from that part of the world, we came to this part of the world, we spoke about the Durban Summer Souk, we spoke about the Dubai Souk, and we took our listeners for a ride all over the world today. And in between, Dr. Faizal Suliman was waiting for us to interview him. He's a chairman of SAMNET, and he's also, chairman of IMA and civic activist. And he's got a lot to share, so we'll have to give him a special slot next week.
I was looking forward to him.
Because Faisal, we can't give him a 3-minute stint. So we decided that, or he decided that he won't come on air today, and next week we'll have him on air. We weren't sure Mustafa was going to come in, but Mustafa shared some very important information with us, as he always does.
I know a gentleman's from Dubai.
Yes. So what I'm saying is that, this particular program becomes so popular because we cover a host of subjects, but we bring it down to reality at the end. How does it impact on South Africa? So there's a lot to chat on different subjects going forward, and we will have a 2-hour program on a regular basis going forward now, which will ultimately lead us to our local government elections and the debates thereof, but it'll be later on in the year. But, I want to take this opportunity of thanking our guests this evening. Firstly, our 2 guests from the Dubai Souk that joined us earlier on, Brother Abdu and Brother Salah. Thanks to you, Sam, for joining us and covering the various topics so appropriately and professionally. And Mustafa, always you're welcome in our studio. I know you do a program on Saturdays covering a host of subjects, and for you to share your expertise on your understanding of the setup in Venezuela, indeed in other parts of the world. Mustafa is quite well read in various political situations throughout the world. And Sumaya Khan for doing a lot of research in the various topics and now becoming an all-rounder. A big thank you for you to join us. I want to conclude on the basis that, I always say, and we will always, remind our listeners that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control. And Sam has quoted me on a number of times. And we mentioned when we were speaking about business, Sam, is that whatever is meant for you, you'll get.
Absolutely.
And that is a universal thinking. And the basis in which our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, conducted business, he was never selfish. He always encouraged people to support each other and to have this degree of humanitarian belief to one another and help each other. And there's a message of his that the best amongst us are those that help others. So the name Al-Ansar is helping others, and we have to continue with this humanitarian aid. So the information we disseminate in News in Focus and indeed in our other programs is to empower and enlighten our listeners out there so that we get this message, much love and blessings, because people value what we tell them, but reduce it to our local setup. So on that note, it's 10:25. We're 20 minutes or 25 minutes over time. Because we had some nasheeds in between, we make up for the lost time. And inshallah, we'll come up with some topical discussions next Wednesday once again. And until then, I thank our technician, Monli, for doing a professional job here. I thank our guests for joining us this evening. Until next Wednesday, shukran for listening to us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.